to Masterclass with your Kscope22 Gurus. This week we've got Glenn Schwartzberg on the line and he's being interviewed. So we're going to get to know a little bit more about him, what kind of foods he likes, everything from what kind of foods he likes to why he chose his Kscope presentations. So I'll start off with Glenn. What do you like to do when you have a day off?
When I have a day off, wait, I get days off?
That's exactly what Edward said.
Yeah, Edward and I tend to have the same answers. No, it was interesting. I was listening to his presentation last week and it was like, that's what I would have said. That's what I would have said. So you could have just taped his and given it to me. So when I have a day off, I tend to either referee soccer games. I volunteer my time to do youth soccer all the way from U10 to U19. So I get a little bit of exercise, get yelled at a lot. And if I'm not doing that, I also like to do woodworking. And so let me go through slides. These are just a couple little examples of some of the things that I've made. I like to make mailboxes, huh?
That's so cool.
So these are a couple of mailboxes that I've made. Here's a couple of more. This one was actually made for somebody based on the car that he actually had. And then I also make other things like this little dog in person or the airplane or these cool American flag type things.
That's so nifty.
And I got started on doing the woodworking because I was restoring old woodworking machines from the 20s and 30s because they were just built so much better. So I spend my time doing woodworking or reffing or if you ask my wife, it would be sitting on the couch.
You still have to rest while you're working on things. While we've got the slide up, I'll go ahead and for anyone who's not currently aware, ArganoInterRel, our goal is to build strong collaborative connections with our clients to help them glean meaningful insights from their data analytics that ultimately drive improved business performance. And we are so excited to leave the world a smarter place than we found it, which includes learning more sometimes about your gurus and experts' personalities. So Glenn likes to spend his time off chilling, making woodworking and things like that. Glenn, what's the best vacation that you ever took? And why would you say it's the best?
Aside from spending a week as a stay vacation, just sitting on the couch and doing absolutely nothing because I was traveling so much. No, actually, I actually like to take cruises. And I think the best one that we actually did, we started off in Lima, Peru, and we went through the Panama Canal and we ended up in Puerto Rico. It was a 12-day cruise and it was wonderful because every other day you were in port and every other day you were at sea, so you had a chance to rest.
That's nice.
And then going through the canal was just such a cool experience.
I'll bet. That's something I would be really excited to do. The only cruise I've ever been on was like every day in Newport and I was exhausted.
Well, the nice thing about cruises is that you don't have to pack and move from hotel to hotel, and you don't have to worry about where you're going to be eating because, you can eat 12 times a day if you want.
That's going to be the cruise ship.
Yeah.
So is there a next cruise or a next travel place on your bucket list that you're excited about?
So the next cruise that I'm going on is actually the end of August, beginning of September. I actually had 2 cruises canceled on me during COVID, but I'm starting in New York and it's a 10-day cruise and we end up in Quebec.
Interesting.
And there's like 8 stops or something.
That sounds lovely. Little Canadian East Coast tour.
Yeah, it's a little early for the turning of the leaves and everything, but it should be a good time.
It'll still be nice.
Mhm.
Hey, Glenn, do you have any more pictures to show us in your PowerPoint?
Pictures of things I've made and the like, no.
Okay. Cool.
I just pulled a few of them.
Okay. Just making sure. I didn't want to leave anything on the table. Do you like watching TV? Do you have TV shows that you binge watch?
I really don't binge watch anything. I really don't do the Netflix or the paid subscription services and the like. So, I've never seen Game of Thrones. I've, never seen all of these shows that Edward talks about.
So you guys do have some differences.
Yeah, and whatever the soccer one is about Ted somebody. I've wanted to watch that, but I never have. The closest I get to binge watching is I like watching things on Food Network and Pawn Stars and those kind of things.
Those are fun. Yeah. I love me some home design shows. Do you?
I watch those every once in a while.
Yeah. I feel like it's the same vibe of TV. Oh, I think Tammy says that you might like to watch Earl.
Earl?
Is that a thing? Am I misunderstanding?
I have no idea what she's talking about. What is Tammy talking about?
We don't understand. Sorry.
Earl? No idea.
And just so everyone's aware, I do have the chat box and the question and answer box open. So if you have any questions for Glenn, go ahead and pop those in there, or snarky comments. He had lots of those for Edward, so it's just fair return. There's a TV show called Something About Earl that we're pretty sure you watch.
I think that was an older show and I'd watch it once in a while, but it wasn't a binge watch type of thing.
Okay.
No idea.
Tammy, it's just a show he liked. It's not a show he binge watched. Different. Okay. So the reason that you're here is to talk about your Kscope presentations. And so we were wondering who all that's attending is planning on attending Kscope or another Oracle event this year. So I think we've got, oh, there it is, our poll, and we're going to leave this up for a minute. We've got people going to ODTUG Kscope, which is not surprising. It looks like no one's interested in Ascend 2022 or Blueprint 4D. I'm sure that's not true.
Oh, look, I'm even getting technical questions.
Yeah, that was a good technical question for Glenn.
Yeah, if you have technical questions, rather than put them into the chat window, if you can put them into the Q&A window, that would actually be better. But I'll answer Lewis's question while we're waiting for the poll to end. And he actually asked, does the order in the fixed statement matter? For example, if I'm fixing on sparse dimension 1, sparse dimension 2, does it make any difference? And the answer is no. If you're doing them all in a fixed statement, it will choose the order that it's going to deal with them. All it's doing is it's creating a set of members to be able to look at the index. So while we're doing technical stuff, what the heck.
That's good to know. And that's why we've got our experts out here, right? I'm
Sure.
glad we were able to answer that, and hopefully that was helpful.
Okay, and it looks like about 67% of the participants who answered are going to Kscope, and about 33% are going to Cloud World, which is the replacement of Open World. But not a lot of people actually answered the poll.
Cloud World.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off.
That sounds good to me. Glenn, how many Kscope conferences do you think you've attended?
So it depends on how you count them. We had
Okay.
this discussion last week with
Yes.
Edward on whether or not the virtual conferences that they did for 2 years counted or not. So if they count, then 15. If not, then 13. I was actually at the very first, and it was Kaleidoscope at the time, conference in 2008, right after Oracle bought Hyperion. And Edward and a gentleman by the name of Tim Toe were actually in charge of the one Essbase room that they had. So there were like 50 of us in one room for almost a week going through everything about Essbase. So, and Edward, that's actually where I met Edward.
Aw, that was where your meet cute was.
Yeah. So.
You've been best friends ever since, right?
Frenemies.
That's fair. I think we have an official ruling that digital Kscope conferences count, so we'll say 15.
Okay.
Do you participate in the annual Werewolf games? And if so, what character do you prefer being a villager or a special character or a werewolf?
So I was actually in 2009 is when that whole trend got started.
Okay.
At the time, our head of HR, a lady by the name of Stephanie, who is a gamer, a friend of Edward's, brought Werewolf to Kaleidoscope in Monterey. And we were going to just have a nice small game one night, got introduced to it. And by the end of the conference, we had 2 sessions going till 5 a.m. in the morning every night. It was amazing. And with in each session about 25 people. I've gotten away from participating in Werewolf. I'm very competitive when I do it. So when I actually do it, I tend to be a moderator more than anything else.
Gotcha.
Because then I don't have to worry about getting killed or killing. I'm a pacifist.
You're a pacifist, but you're a very competitive pacifist.
And it's weird, I'm only competitive against Edward.
I don't blame you. I feel like he asks for it.
He does.
So we've got you doing 2 sessions at least this year, is that right?
Yes. I'm doing 2 of them. One of them is on drill through from Essbase. I'm an Essbase guy, so everything I do is Essbase. Well, never heard of that. Okay, yeah. And the other one is basically what's new in Essbase 21C.
Yeah. So what makes you really excited to talk to people about drill through and about Essbase and what's new?
Who said I'm excited?
I mean, that's fair.
No, I'm teasing.
You did decide to put together presentations, so I just assumed.
Yeah, no, as Essbase is my first love. I've been doing it since 1992. So that doesn't mean I know anything. It just means I'm old.
Yeah.
But it really is my first love. When I started off being a DBA, working on mainframe computers, doing other things. And when Essbase came along, somebody showed it to me and it was like, wow, they don't have to have a backlog of questions that IT has to spend months getting them the answer to. And then when they do, it's outdated. The users can be self-service and get everything that they want. And I've seen a lot of change in it over time. So I find that interesting. But really the drill through is a way to extend the functionality of Essbase. And
Right.
I've worked with it in many forms, and I'll show you some, one of the preview slides that will talk about it. But it's one of those things that people find a lot of value out of, but there's a lot of intricacy to it. So there's still things that I'm learning. I learned something new a couple weeks ago, which I'm going to share in the conference. So
if that's not a reason to attend, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. And the same thing with what's new with Essbase. I've actually been working with the Oracle Essbase development team since Essbase Cloud, what it was called at the time, was in alpha version. So back in 2016, I think it was. And I've been working with them ever since on different things for enhancements and bugs and new features and other things. So I just like to share knowledge and let people know, what's new, what's coming. This session will cover a whole bunch of stuff on differences, and
that's super exciting. And it's really cool to me as someone who's kind of newer to this space, how effective Essbase is and how they're able to change that and keep it updated. It's really interesting. So
it's interesting that it's an old technology. I mean, it's from 91, 92,
right.
And it's still relevant today because they keep enhancing it.
Right, and it was such a good premise from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and move on to your teaser slides then. And while you're pulling that up, do you mind giving us an idea of one or two things that you want people to walk away from your presentations knowing or feeling?
Sure, I just need to get to the screen share, wherever it is. There it is. And I'll warn you, this is going to be a short session because unlike Edward, I don't talk for 20 minutes about each slide.
Another difference.
Yeah, you didn't ask me about coffee.
I can ask you about coffee if you'd like.
It's going to be the same answer that Edward gave.
Okay.
I hate the taste of coffee. I don't like beer. I don't like wine. They're
Well, what
just
do you
very,
like to
very
drink
bitter.
instead?
Huh?
What do you like to drink instead?
I like tea. I have all sorts of different teas, not the fruity kinds, but English breakfast and Earl Grey, and a friend of mine got me on this English tea, Typho. But I actually had to give up tea because I was drinking like 9 cups of tea a day, and my teeth were getting like dark brown. And so I last August, I pretty much gave it up.
Yeah, and it's not ideal to have dark brown teeth when you've got your pretty face on webcasts all the time.
Well, I don't have to worry about a pretty face. That's one thing I don't have.
If you're watching the comments, Cisa expressed some shock that Glenn doesn't think he talks as much as Edward does. So thanks for that, Cisa.
Thanks, Cisa. Remember that next time you want something.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Cisa.
There is a question that says that they're attending Kscope in June. Do you have to specifically register for your presentations, or can you just show up? The answer is prior to Kscope, there will be a phone app that you can download and you can make your schedule, but there's nothing in it that requires you to pre-register for a session. The only reason for the pre-registration is so that they can make sure that the room is big enough for the presentation. I'm going to sound vain, but oftentimes Edward's presentations and my presentations aren't in big enough rooms. And so they actually have to adjust the room that we're in to make sure that everybody can actually get into the presentation. So once they let you know about the app, do download it and pre-register for the sessions. Doesn't mean that you have to attend those sessions. It just gives them an idea of the rooms, but you can go to any session.
As an FYI though, our vendor session does have a separate registration with us. And that's just to make sure that you get a t-shirt, because we've got super cool exclusive t-shirts coming out that we're very excited about. And you'll only get if you register for that, which the link was just popped into the chat by our lovely moderator. But Glenn, if you want to continue about what your presentations are going to be about, let's go ahead and do that.
No problem. So I just wanted to comment on this picture. It actually looks like I almost have hair. I don't know how that happened.
Little hair.
Huh?
You look very like majestic in that one too, looking off.
Yeah, the other thing is you'll notice I'm wearing a red shirt and I'm wearing a red shirt today.
Not a Star Trek fan, huh?
What's that?
I said not a Star Trek fan, huh?
No, it's not about being killed off in a red shirt, but no, actually a long time ago, I went to a presentation about your social presence. And if you want to get better, that when you present, when you have your picture, it should all be in same or similar attire, because then people will equate that with you. Hence Edward's hat.
That's the reason he wears the hat.
Yeah, he won't say that, but that's the reason.
We've got another question. Do you want to read it and answer it really quickly?
We do?
Yeah. Sorry, listeners, we're reading the question right
now.
Not terrible.
Quiet, silence. Hey, Glenn, since you're working with Essbase dev folks, whenever will it check more than 1 million combinations when retrieving from SmartView without giving you the sorry Charlie not looking any further message? In this day and age, Google respond that it looked up a bazillion hits in half a second, but Essbase stops you at 1 million possible combinations. Many cubes have enough members these days that 1 million combinations comes pretty quickly. So the answer is they actually have already gotten rid of it. There's something in the config file ssproc row limit that was originally at 50,000. If you set it to 0, it's unlimited. But with that said, the problem is that they're pretty big retrievals, and Excel can't handle over more than 1 million some odd rows in a retrieval because it's bigger than a spreadsheet. So while the limit is gone, and as a matter of fact, things like an MDX query can bring back 2 to the 52nd power intersections, it's the Excel limit that's really holding us up. So
y'all can talk to Microsoft about that. All right, I'll let you get on with your sneak peek.
Okay, so my 2 sessions, it's all in the detail, drill through to greater understanding and what's new in Essbase 21C. And although we put the rooms down here, they are subject to change if you're going to be attending. So I guess I'm doing what's new with Essbase first, but in my slides today, because it was listed this way, I actually did it the other way around. And so talking about drill through from Essbase, and it really is one of my loves. If we talk about the progression of drill through, when I first started in 92, 93, it was a client-side drill through. You actually created the drill through query from the Essbase add-in in Excel. And for every cube, you would have different queries and you would have to set them all up independently. And it was extremely high maintenance and it wasn't very friendly. It was very difficult to do. That was replaced by Essbase Integration Services, EIS, which was the first generation of server-side drill through. And then that was replaced with Essbase Studio. So it really was more powerful. That actually came along in the early 2000s, the EIS, and then Essbase Studio a bit after that. And I know a bit about Essbase Studio because I wrote a book on it. So now my book is no longer meaningful to most people because now in 21C, 19C, they've included a built-in drill through capabilities that's more powerful than what Essbase Studio could do. And we'll talk about some of those powers when we get into my session, a little bit of a teaser. So as Oracle like to say, it's just pure goodness. So with that, we'll go into some of the comparisons of Essbase Studio versus native drill through, how it works, things that you can and can't do in it. And so just to get a better detailed understanding of the drill through capabilities. I'll go through all of the different steps in order to be able to create a drill through for you. And I'll go through it in a couple of different ways. Now, what I'm going to tell you is that my plan is to do a live demo. And I actually have multiple demos on different Essbase servers, one of them being in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI, which is what we call the Essbase Marketplace install. And I also have a couple on on-prem, independent servers, which really means on-prem. It means independent means in your data center, wherever that data center is. And I'll talk about some of there's really no difference between marketplace and independent drill throughs, except maybe the capability of how you have to set up the connections and all of that. But I do plan on doing this as a live demo. People love me doing live demos because they can see me face plant and have issues and get all frustrated. Because if something's going to go wrong in a demo, it's going to be in a live demo. So I do it without a net. I don't have things recorded, but I do have some slides just in case. So I don't spend 45 minutes going, I was going to show you this, but I can't. So I do have a backup plan, a plan B, and maybe a plan C. So, and then there are some new topics that I'm going to be covering. I did this session last year, I think it was, at the virtual Kscope. And I started bringing up what parameters were used for because that was new to me last year. But there's some new things that I'm going to talk about this year as well. Like how can you see what the actual query was that was generated by the drill through? And where do I get that and how can I do it? And then there's also a new one, and the newest one that I had is how and when are temp tables used? And this is one that I just discovered while trying to do something for another consultant that was having issues. and we worked through all of the different capabilities. And I even created a couple of enhancement requests from it. So I'm going to be spending 50 minutes or so at Kscope talking about drill through and giving you some real cool examples of it. So that's the first session. Rebecca, I know you probably don't have any questions about it, but did anybody have questions about what I was talking about?
I mean, honestly, the problem is more that I have too many questions.
It's like, what's drill through?
I know what
I'll
drill
even tell
through
you
is.
what drill through is in this session. So you're going to have to come to my session to learn.
Again,
And in this session, it's not just for the brand new user. It's not just for the experts who want to get more information. There's a little bit for everybody.
a little bit for everyone.
Yeah.
So I could go to your session and I would understand and enjoy it.
You could go to my session and you would understand more. You still have to have Essbase fundamentals and understanding of how it works, but
Yeah. I do know the entire history of Essbase though, at this point.
that's only because of Edward and me.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes every time we talk about it. But talking about the history of Essbase.
Oh no, I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's fine. We're going to be my other session is talking about what is new in Essbase 21C. And by the time the session comes out, it might be 22C. We'll never know. There's supposed to be a patch coming out in early June or July. Safe harbor, you never heard that one from me, because it may or may not happen by then. So don't go back and say, well, Glenn said that there's going to be a patch out. Where is it? I'm actually going to be meeting with the Oracle development team a couple weeks before the conference. And my presentation is probably going to be changing a little bit because they're going to tell me about some new stuff that's coming out that they're going to allow me to put into my presentation. So they're expecting it to be out about then, and I may have to do a safe harbor about it. But we are going to be talking about Essbase 21C. And so what I'm going to be talking about on Essbase is first is what are the flavors of Essbase? You know, there's multiple ways that you can get Essbase now. You can get it as in Marketplace, which is on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and they have a whole pre-built install package to help you walk through the installation of it. There's still a lot of things that you have to select and the like, but now you can also choose for the independent install. And with the independent install, you can choose whether or not you're going to use a Linux or a Windows install. Those are the two independent implementations of it. And with that, you get different flavors of security models. So if we're going with the Marketplace installed on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, you're going to get a security model that's called identity management. And this is one of those things that is in flux right now. Currently, if you have an instance, you're going to get something called IDCS, Identity Management Cloud Service. But if you're just installing now, you're going to get IAM, Identity and Access Management Service. IAM is a replacement for IDCS that is more powerful and gives you more functionality. But people who have already gotten it, they haven't converted them over to IAM yet from IDCS. And if you're on the independent install, you choose one of a couple of different flavors of security. You can either use WebLogic security, or you can use shared services security. And there are pros and cons about each one of those that I'll go over in the session. And again, I'll actually show you what the differences look like. I don't like slides a lot. I like to demo more than I do slides. So I'll be doing a lot of demoing. And so some of the things that I'll show you are things like, you know, the latest version of the outline editor and the things that you can and can't do with it. What EAS Lite is and what you can and can't do with it. And for that one, I actually just recently wrote a blog post. So if you want a preview of that, you could go out and look at my blog, shameless plug. And so it's going to show you what you can and can't do with EAS Lite, and when possibly you might want to use it or when you wouldn't want to use it. EAS Lite is only available with the independent install. It's not available for Oracle Cloud Infrastructure Marketplace installs. But it is available if you're doing an on-prem, and I'm going to use the independent and on-prem vernacular interchangeably. And so I'm going to talk a lot about what's new, what's exciting with 21C, the differences between an implementation in independent or an implementation in marketplace. Oh, Rebecca even put my blog post up there. How nice.
I got you, Glenn.
You're covering the basis for me. And so those are really the slides that I wanted to show you, because I don't have a lot of slides. It's all going to be real life demo. So this is going to be a short session today.
Real life. I mean, we can talk more about what beverages you prefer. What do you drink now that you're not drinking coffee?
I never drink coffee. My wife has got me this unsweetened lemonade, or artificially sweetened lemonade, that I've been drinking a lot of, and I do a lot of water. Oh, my wife just popped in the picture for a second.
Who's that?
This is a whole conference that I'm talking to.
Upper one.
So a lot of water, ton of water. When
Tammy says, "Hi, Mom."
a lot of water because I ref a lot, and so I need to stay hydrated.
Yeah.
So, but and like Edward, if I'm going to have a alcoholic beverage, it's probably going to be a frou-frou drink.
Hey.
So.
You gotta love those.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just double check.
There are no open questions.
No open questions.
So this could be a really quick session. Oh, look.
It's been 40 minutes. That's not short. We got a good
Somebody
chat.
said that they heard a rumor that my wife ghost wrote my Essbase book.
Probably true.
Yeah, she can't even spell Essbase.
I bet she can spell Essbase.
Probably not. But the truth is that the way that the book came around is I was doing a roadshow session on Essbase Studio, and Edward and Tracy were listening to it and said, "You really need to write a book about that." And so that night, I had like a 3-hour drive from the conference back to my hotel, and I thought about, you know, what I would write about.
Yeah.
And at 3 a.m., I wrote the first chapter of the book, which did nothing but slam Edward. In the very first paragraph, I call him a snot-nosed punk.
That's fair.
And the whole book was about dissing Edward. But at any rate, I wrote the first chapter and I sent it to him and Tracy McMullen and said, "Be careful what you wish for." And Tracy read it and sent back a note that said, "You're definitely writing the book." And Edward sent me back something that said, "I literally laughed out loud and had to read it to my son."
I'm glad that Edward's such a good sport.
Yes. You know, I turned in the book and said, "Okay, I guess this is my resignation notice." And Edward promoted me and gave me a raise. So
That was weird of him.
I
to
never
do that.
understand.
Strange.
It was a dark and stormy night over the streets of New Orleans. It wasn't New Orleans. It was actually Dallas and Austin. The roadshow was in our office.
So you were driving down Highway 35.
Is that what it is? I don't know.
Yeah.
I went to GPS and said, "Get me back to my hotel."
It's infamous among those of us who live in Texas along it because it's constantly under construction and it's awful. It's just like they said, what's the worst way we could build a highway? And then they did that for I-35. But as we're closing out, unless you have more to say, Glenn, I don't want to.
No, I don't want to be accused of talking more than Edward.
Yeah, that could cause all kinds of problems in the multiverse. So next week, I'll be interviewing Kevin Whalen. Super excited about that. Don't forget, if you've not yet signed up for Kscope and you're looking to do so, we've got, oh, it's on this side, my bad. I'm real bad at this, never mind. You can use our code ArganoInterRel to get $100 off no matter when you register. If you're coming to Kscope and you're interested in learning more about Essbase, or you have questions, we have a link that will be popping up in the chat soon for you to register to, or to set a meeting, really. It's not really registering. To set a meeting with someone from our team if you'd like. And then another link that you'll be seeing in the chat shortly is going to be for our vendor session. Glenn, do you have any comments on the vendor session?
I actually haven't seen it. I know that Edward has been having other people work long and hard on the Essbase Love session.
Yeah.
And so it actually sounds like a really cool session. There must not be a lot of technical content in it about Essbase, because otherwise Edward would be having me do it, because
Right.
you know, he talks about the fluff. And now actually Edward is a very brilliant man, but he doesn't have a lot of time to do that. So he relies a lot on us who are doing things day to day with it to give him some ideas and insights. But it should be a really great session, and you know, make sure you register so you can get the cool gift that's going to be given out.
It was,
So
they're really cool t-shirts,
is
and
that
we
what
have
it-
to
yeah,
make
that's
sure
right.
we have your size and that we have enough, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. So make sure that, you know, I know that all the links were posted, so grab the links out of the chat
Yep.
and register up. And here are all the different sessions that we're presenting on. And I think, although it's not been confirmed, there's also something called Lunch and Learns on Tuesday that's hosted by the Oracle ACE program. And I think I'm going to be on a panel for Essbase on that.
So you guys will get another chance to ask Glenn anything.
And I can make it up then too, so.
Alrighty, well, join me next week to have a similar chat with Kevin Whalen. And Glenn, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed getting to know you and learning more about why you love Essbase.
My pleasure. I'm just happy to share the information. So everybody have a great day.